Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. Hello. It is so good to see everyone as always. That's right. We're back. I did not skip a week like the last round that we had where I had those 3 weeks off. That's right. We had a stream last Saturday and we're already back this week. It's so good to be back, everyone. We are back on the weekly grind. And I am pumped. I am excited to be here. It's so good to see everyone. Okay, so for anyone that is new here, really quick, I just want to get a couple things off of the top because I have gotten an absolute ton of new followers on Twitter. So first of all, I want to say a big thank you for that. I've passed 20,000 followers on Twitter now. That's really awesome, really amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. So if any of you that are my new followers on Twitter are now here on my YouTube for the first time, welcome. It is so good to see you. And yeah, we do these weekly chats every single week. How do they work? Well, first of all, it's really driven by you, right? Your comments, your questions. We just sit here and we talk and break down the latest and greatest news in the gaming industry every single week. Two ways to do that. First of all, there's the free method, right? You just type a question, you enter it into chat, and that's all you do, right? I go through chat and I hit as many questions as possible. However, if you want to 100% guarantee you get your question answered, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. You just type a donation of whatever amount you want. I get an alert and then the super chat pops up and I hit those immediately. However, do not feel pressured or obligated to do super chats. That's just there as a way of supporting the channel and guaranteeing that I get to your question. So what is the big news we can talk about? There's really two big headlines, but of course there's a whole bunch of other stuff we can talk about as well. Actually, I should say probably three because we just got something else today too. Of course, the biggest and craziest one of the bunch is going to be a new rumor that is out of VentureBeat and Jeff Grubb that Kojima Productions next game is going to be published by Xbox and Microsoft. I can actually add on a bit to this as well. I will tell you, I'm not usually a rumor mill guy, but I have heard this rumor as well. I actually heard it quite a while back, and I have heard this, so I cannot tell you if it is true. I cannot tell you if it's a 100% fact, a 100% lock, but I can tell you that this is a rumor that is being circulated pretty widely. So usually when there's a lot of people that are hearing something, that's a pretty good sign it's legit. Again, I want to say right off the top of this video, I don't consider myself an A-class high-tier insider. I'm not sitting here confirming for you that this is 100% going to happen. I'm just saying, yes, I have also heard this rumor as well. It is widely spreading around. So we can talk about what that could mean for Xbox, what that means for Kojima Productions, you know, what does this mean for Sony, etc., etc. Start dropping those questions about that. We're going to break it all down. The other big headlines, of course, are going to be E3 2021 is official. It has a really good lineup, actually. More big publishers are involved than I expected, so that's really good to hear for all of us that like E3. We have people like Microsoft confirmed, Nintendo confirmed, Capcom confirmed, Konami, Koch Media, a whole bunch. Of course, the big missing one here is going to be PlayStation, but I don't think any of us expected PlayStation to be back anyways. And there's more publishers here than I thought there was going to be. So E3 2021, what can we expect? What are our hopes? What are our dreams? And then, of course, just announced this morning, Deathloop has been delayed all the way till September. So the year of the delay strikes again. We can talk about what other games might be delayed and you know, how this could impact Bethesda as well as any other games. Okay, everyone, start dropping your questions. Start hitting me with anything you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be about those three headlines. It can be about anything. It looks like we just had a super chat drop. So I'm going to hit that super chat first. Anthony Johnson here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Saying Life is Strange 3 will not be episodic, and neither was Hitman 3. Are episodic games dead as a genre? How do episodic games sales in general right now? You know, this is a great question to start it off. And don't worry, y'all, we're going to go into Kojima here in just a minute, but I want to make sure I hit this super chat right off the bat. Yeah, so there has definitely been ample evidence over time that the episodic nature of games long term, actually, it's not great for sales. I think we have seen evidence of that. I think early on there was more hopes that episodic releases would work almost like a TV release or something like that, where you can keep people engaged over time. You have development to where, you can periodically work through the game, so you can get a piece out and then keep working on the next episode. So maybe there's not quite as long of a wait. So I think there was some publishers that were really somewhat excited or interested in that model, but what we've seen over time is two things, I think. First of all, whenever games are really spread out with episodes, I think it really kills the momentum of it. So maybe that first episode's great or whatever, but then people end up waiting like 3-4 months for the next one, and that's really gonna harm your overall momentum, having people just wait that long. So I think that's part of it. And then the other part is a lot of people just wait until all the episodes are released. And then oftentimes those people that wait until all the episodes are out, by then the game's already dropped in price, right? It's already gone on sale. It's already discounted. So you're also maybe losing out on some revenue by having so many people that wait until much later to buy the game. Whereas if you just release it all at once, you get all that interest of people that can play all the way through it. And then, also you're probably getting more revenue from less people waiting on the big sales. So I would say that episodic games, I'm not going to say they're completely dead, but it is something I think you're going to see more people kind of move away from. And then one other note, I do think that episodic works if it's somewhat quick, right? So if you can have a new episode hitting, let's say every, 2 weeks, right? Or 3 weeks maximum. I think that still works because it's still a short enough time window that you can keep people engaged and it's feeling like a quick process. But it's really the problem when you spread these out. When you're getting a new episode every 2-3 months, I'm going to be frank, I just don't think that method really works nowadays. It needs to be pretty quick between episodes if you're going to do this nature. You know what I'm saying? I thought that... Oh, come on. Tell me why. Tell me why last year I felt like that did it right. The episodes were pretty shortly spanned apart. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but that hit at a rapid nature. Something like that can work, but if you're spreading it out, I don't think so. And thank you for that super chat. All right. We have a good turnout already. Almost 70 people in chat. Thank you so much, everyone. Here we go. We're diving into some Kojima right now. Forzathon is back with a free question saying, "Hello Benji, how you doing? The Kojima stuff is fascinating and I wouldn't be surprised since Kojima loves cloud gaming and Xbox has invested more heavily in this area. Do you think it's true? Also, congrats again on 20,000 followers." Well, thank you so much for the congrats on 20,000. Like I said at the top, it means a lot to me that so many people find me a decently reliable source for sales and business and just video game industry info. So thank you so much, everyone. And then in terms of the Kojima stuff, I have heard very little, right, in terms of like insider. All that I have heard was that main headline, right, was that there was a potential chance that Xbox was going to be publishing Kojima's next game. I had heard this, I'm not going to say a super long time ago, but a few weeks back, okay? It's been just a little bit now that I first heard that rumor floating around. I have nothing to add on to that in terms of, oh, this is confirmed, I have all the juicy details, or even that it's going to happen. Here's the thing. Sometimes rumors, even when a lot of people hear them, they're still not true, right? Somehow the wires got crossed and stuff gets mixed up. So that is a thing. But when I first heard it, I was like, I mean, possible? I was like, but seems a bit like a long shot. But then once I saw this Grub article come out, I was like, well, wait, if Jeff's hearing the same thing and he's way more clued in than I am to the insider realm, I was like, okay, maybe this does have weight behind it. So I don't know for sure, but I would say it's looking very, very potentially likely considering how widespread this rumor is. And yeah, I think it actually potentially makes sense. Let's look back at Death Stranding, right? I don't know that Sony got out of Death Stranding what they expected to. And what I mean by that is Death Stranding definitely didn't bomb, right? Because I've also heard some people say, oh, Death Stranding was a failure, didn't do well commercially or anything like that. It did fine, and that's kind of how I'd phrase it. It did fine, right? Like, it didn't lose money. Kojima's already confirmed that. There was money made on the project. But at the same time, it didn't like sell a ridiculous amount of units, and it also didn't exactly push a ton of PS4 sales. So I think on Sony's end, it might be one of those scenarios where they're like, I mean, Death Stranding did okay for us, but it wasn't like this smashing home run where we like have to 100% guarantee we get that next Kojima project. Like, no matter what, spend all the money, we must lock it in. You know, I don't know if Sony was necessarily in that sort of scenario. Don't get me wrong. I would think Sony would love to have Kojima's games on their console, right? I don't think it's one of these scenarios where like it's bad blood and the ties are being cut or anything crazy like that. I just think it was one of those scenarios maybe they didn't feel they had to super pursue whatever Kojima's doing next. Then on top of that, to like as the exact counterpoint, you have Microsoft, who has been very, very open. You've heard Phil say a bunch in recent years that he views Japan as important. They want increased Japanese support on the Xbox console. You have seen some of this stuff come to fruition through games like the Yakuza series coming over to Game Pass, stuff like exclusive marketing rights for like a Dragon. It had the Series X patch before PS5. You've seen the Kingdom Hearts games come over to Xbox. You've seen Nier Automata, and now Nier Replicant come out. So clearly you are seeing some of that pay off. And what's definitely a big way of doing that, I mean, locking in the next Kojima game. I mean, that's a huge move in terms of like saying, hey, we are really serious about getting Japanese games on our platform. So Microsoft almost like the counter to Sony, where Sony doesn't feel like they have to pursue this. Microsoft probably sees it as, yeah, we do need to pursue this if we have an opportunity. So it makes sense to me. Again, I'm not confirming here or anything that that's 100% going to happen, but the rumor does not seem crazy to me at all. All right. Batwing. Hello there, Benji. For games that get delayed until next year, like Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy, among others, do you think devs will ditch last-gen versions of these games, or will they stick to it? Well, Batwing, those particular ones, Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights, they've probably, and this is just a probably, right? I'm just coming from the outside on this. I'm assuming they're going to keep their last-gen versions, probably just because a ton of work has already been done on those, and they are, fully multi-platform games, right? It's not like an exclusive. I think with an exclusive, it's actually easier to drop a last-gen version of a game, because at the end of the day, you're still just targeting like one platform, right? So if you're an Xbox exclusive, you're just targeting Xbox. If you're a PlayStation, you're just targeting PlayStation. So like dropping PS4 and then just focusing on PS5, you were already somewhat restricting anyways. But if you're fully multi-plat and you've already done a bunch of work on the, PS4 and Xbox One versions, for now, Batwing, I'm just assuming that those last-gen versions are going to come out as well. Now, if those last-gen versions are giving them a ton of trouble, and that is part of the delay, then you might see those canceled, right? If they feel that the last-gen consoles are really holding back their projects, you may see something like that. But for those particular games, I think you'll still see cross-gen, even the games that are delayed. I will say in 2022, I am expecting a lot of next-gen only games, but those are going to be games that were already in development with the mindset of next-gen only. Silence PP7. How much will the delay impact Deathloop? Also, what are your expectations for it this year on PS5/PC and beyond in terms of it becoming a staple IP for Arcane/Microsoft? So Deathloop has felt somewhat tepid in its build-up, to launch. And I hate to say it, similarly to other Arcane projects, Arcane has just struggled outside of Dishonored, right? Dishonored has done well for them. But outside of Dishonored, Arcane has struggled to like really blow the doors off of people in terms of like sales and business. And even Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider, that like expansion project, even those didn't have the same sort of momentum as Dishonored 1. So to be perfectly frank with you, Sounds PP7, my expectations for Deathloop have always been not that high in terms of sales. I don't think it's going to necessarily flop or anything like that, but until Arcane can really have a game that hits big, it's hard to predict that one's going to. Because like I said, really since the original Dishonored, they've had games that have reviewed well, they've had games that are really beloved, but they just haven't had like a ton of commercial sales successes. So Deathloop, my expectations have always been not too big. I don't think the delay really hurts them that much, honestly. Though, here's the thing. It could be an issue if Q4 ends up insane, right? And I know this is September, so a little bit before Q4, but I mean, it depends on how much stuff ends up getting delayed, right? Because there's potentially still more games that are going to get delayed. So, you know, my expectations are kind of middle of the road for Deathloop in terms of sales. I'm not talking about quality at all here, y'all. Arcane makes amazing games, so I could see Deathloop being spectacular in terms of quality. I'm just saying sales. And in terms of it becoming a staple IP for Arcane Microsoft, I would say no unless it generates big sales, right? So I'm not saying there'll never be a sequel to Deathloop, but we really need to see how it sells first. All right, we just had a super chat drop. Let me hit that super chat. Thank you for a great turnout, everyone, today. Big Fresh 37 with a $4.99 super chat saying, F this Kojima talk. We got a multiple Smurfs game announced today. Let's talk about what really matters. Thank you for the super chat, Big Fresh. I'll be honest, I completely even missed this. I didn't even know that a Smurfs game got announced, right? Who cares about Kojima? I mean, geez. Thank you so much for the super chat, Big Fresh. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to grab... Here we go. I'm going to grab a couple Kojima questions. I'm going to come back to some of the other ones, but I know a lot of people are diving into chat right now specifically to hear my thoughts on Kojima. So I'm going to pick a couple Kojimas, and I'm going to go back to a couple other ones. Infinity Doc here has a comment. Apparently, Jeff Grubb said the deal is now with the lawyers in the Kind of Funny Games daily chat. Okay. That is interesting. That's a very interesting wrinkle. And if it is indeed with the lawyers, it sounds like this project is locking up, right? You're coming down to the final wire, right? You're basically signing the contracts. If it's with the lawyers, you're in the home stretch in terms of this being a done deal. Doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I when I very first heard this rumor, I was like, ooh, that's an interesting wrinkle. But I was like, here's the thing, y'all. Anything with insider info, and anyone will tell you this, literally anyone, and it's part of the reason why I don't really go digging for scoops like this. There is so much BS that gets spread around behind the scenes, like so much BS. I mean, it's insane. Put it this way, for every true thing you hear, you're probably going to hear 4 or 5 fake things or half-truths, right? So this is one of those that when I first heard the rumor, I was just like, interesting. I'm not necessarily going to put a ton of weight behind it. But then once Grubb came out with that, that means multiple people are hearing it. And now hearing it's with the lawyers, I mean, it would make sense, right? It would make sense. I'll tell you what, if so, this could be a big announcement at Microsoft's E3. Right? That I could absolutely see that being a case, right? We have E3 coming up. We have Xbox and Microsoft confirmed to be there. I think if you're going to have like a big announcement for this, you probably don't do it on its own. And obviously this project will be early in development, but now that it's like leaked, right? You might as well confirm it. Like, here's my thing. If you're in Microsoft's shoes now and your plan was to completely wait to announce this for another year or two, maybe till the game is like really showable, really playable, you know, very far into development, it's leaked now. So it would be kind of silly to just pretend this didn't happen, right? So if they get these contracts signed, honestly, what I would do, I would come out and announce this game at E3. I would just say, I would warn people, hey, it's a ways off. This is early in development, but let's capitalize on all this momentum that's being generated in all these headlines online. And let's put Kojima front and center and say, boom, here we go. We got Kojima on Xbox, right? That's a big get. So, yeah, it sounds like things are moving along for sure, if that's what Grub's hearing. I can't say that I've heard that. Again, I've heard very little on this besides the headline rumor. But, yeah, sounds like Grub is hearing some more stuff. Timmer with the super chat. Thank you so much, Timmer. And thank you for being in chat as always and always supporting the channel with a 2 super chat saying no questions today. Just wanted to show my support. Thank you so much, man. Shows some support to Timmer. Always awesome on Twitter. Always digging up awesome stuff. And thank you so much. Thank you for being in chat. Okay. We got Harness Venom here with a question. Hello, Benji boy. Hello. Do you think more developers / publishers will obtain the Marvel license? Also, do you think it's possible that Spider-Man 2 will be the last Spider-Man game from Insomniac, or there's more? Wouldn't Insomniac be done with Spider-Man after making Spider-Man 2 their 3rd Spider-Man game? Wouldn't they want to move on, or is Spider-Man 3 a cash cow they don't want to miss? So 2 questions here, and they're great questions. First of all, do I expect to see more Marvel licenses? Yes. But here is the thing. I will be honest with you, Harness Venom. After the giant success of Insomniac Spider-Man, I have been very surprised you have not seen more, right? The only other game we've had outside of Insomniac Spider-Man games, right? So Spider-Man and Miles Morales, in terms of big AAA Marvel games, is Avengers. And Avengers always felt a little weird in terms of the project. So I think none of us are that surprised that it wasn't a huge sales success. But I am very shocked we have not seen a studio come out and announce, hey, we're making Black Panther. Like, how is there not a Black Panther game? That movie made over $1 billion. I mean, that to me seems crazy that no one has done the Black Panther license. Like, that is nuts. And it's like, his powers are cool. Wakanda's an amazing setting. Like, you could do so much with Black Panther. I am shocked that there is currently not a AAA Black Panther game in development. Shocked. So do I think we're going to see more? Yes, but when and where and from who, I am not sure. And in terms of Insomniac making more Spider-Man games, absolutely, right? There's no way that they're going to stop even after Spider-Man 2. The only way that they would stop is if something gets weird with the contract, but nothing's going to get weird there because, listen, Sony's making a ton of money, Insomniac's making a ton of money, and Marvel's making a ton of money. They're going to keep that Spider-Man cash cow going literally as long as possible. You're going to get Spider-Man 4 and 5 as long as everyone on board is willing to keep going. Here's the thing. Insomniac is such a talented studio and they're so good at multitasking. They have other projects in the works besides Spider-Man, right? There's a Ratchet game about to come out. I'm sure they have other projects too besides Ratchet and Spider-Man 2. Insomniac's like always a company that has 2 or 3 things going at a time. So yeah, they're going to be making Spider-Man for a very long time. And, you know, if someone at Insomniac's like really bored of doing Spider-Man after Spider-Man 2, they always have multiple projects. I'm sure that their leadership there is going to be like, okay, go work on Ratchet or go work on, you know, something else. And the rest of the team can still work on Spider-Man. So, yeah, I would not expect to see that end anytime soon. I think I just saw a super chat drop. I did. KY Han with a 5. Thank you so much, KY Han. Thank you so much for the super chat. How familiar are you with the No More Heroes series? Do you think 3 might finally be the big breakout title for the franchise? I'm very familiar with it in terms of just like cursory, right? Knowing about it, knowing, you know, the platforms, all that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest, I'm not like a big No More Heroes player. In terms of could it be the big breakout title for the franchise? Potentially. And here's what I mean. It's on Switch, right? And Switch is a software monster. So I would say that doesn't guarantee that it's going to be a huge hit, but if there was ever an opportunity for No More Heroes to break out, this is the time, right? If any of them are going to do it, it's going to be now, because Switch is just a software monster. We see it time and time again, whether it's Animal Crossing, whether it's, Splatoon, whether it's anything, whether it's Mario, whether it's Zelda, whether it's third-party games, even like Monster Hunter. Like, Switch can just sell ridiculous amounts of software. So I would say, KY Han, if it's going to happen, yes, this is the entry to do it. So do I expect that? I don't know, but yeah, now's the time. And thank you for the super chat. Vince the Magician here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Vince the Magician. Hey Benji, I just wanted to support you and say that I've really been loving your coverage on Twitter. Also, first time in the stream. Would I be able to DM you about my gaming and esports newsletter? Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for the really kind comments. I love doing what I do on Twitter and YouTube. It's literally the highlight of my day every single day. I literally wake up and think about what I can talk about on Twitter and YouTube with games. And before I go to bed at night, I'm literally still thinking about it. So thank you. That means a lot to me. I put in a lot of effort. Welcome to the live stream. Cool to see you here. And yeah, you can definitely DM me. I will warn you, as many people probably inside this chat can confirm, I am atrocious about DMs. Bad. Okay, I'm very bad. A lot of times my DMs build up to like the hundreds and I get really like overwhelmed, so it takes me a long time to get through DMs. But you can DM me. I just can't promise the response will be super fast. I need to dive into my DMs and respond to a whole bunch of people. I have a ridiculous amount right now. So yes, you can definitely DM me and I will try to get on it and do better about it. Lucas here with a 59 SEK super chat. Thank you so much, Lucas. What other sport franchises should EA and or Take-Two move into? Well, college football has been a big missed opportunity for EA, and I believe that is coming back, right? They did announce that. So that was one that went away. That was a big missed opportunity. To be honest, most of the major sports franchises now are mostly represented. I will say that EA moving into UFC was a great call. A lot of people don't realize that, because UFC, of course, is not going to be on the same level as like Madden and FIFA or NBA for 2K, right? Like, it's just not going to be. But the newest UFC 4, was the fastest selling UFC game ever. So they are building those UFC games up to be a pretty decent pillar for them in sports as well. So, but outside of that, I mean, college football coming back is very good. Moving into UFC was a good call. Golf is back, right? You're seeing golf games come back. So really, I mean, a lot of them are represented, Lucas. There's not a ton others. Here's one thing I'll say. It's good that Skate's coming back, right? That's another one for EA. I know skateboarding isn't necessarily the same thing as like a team sport type of thing, but I think Skate's going to do really well for EA. I think it's going to do really, really well. So that's a few of my thoughts. But it's hard for me to think of a ton of other ones, because here's the thing, like I don't think it'd be smart for Take-Two to make a soccer game, right? Even if they could get some sort of licensing for it, FIFA's just going to dominate. And we've seen with EA, like, they can't get NBA Live to be successful, right? It just keeps failing because 2K is seen as the baseball. So I wouldn't really do any cross like competition things if you can. And MLB is already locked up with the show. Like, no one's going to compete with that. So yeah, I feel like they're mostly represented. All right, super chats are cleared. Let's get to some more free questions. Kieran Buckley here. Hello, Kieran. Good to see you. Hi, Benji. With E3 back with a decent lineup so far, do you see Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest try and counter E3 by getting Sony and a few other companies? So here's the thing, Kieran. I won't be surprised if you see Jeff and the Summer's Game Fest kind of like loop Sony into their branding and messaging. But here's the deal. Here's the main reason Sony's not at E3. Sony as a company feels they are the top. Like, honestly, Sony feels like they're so big they don't need anyone. And I'm just being honest with you on that. Behind the scenes, yes, I'm sure there's some drama with things like money and things like that. But Sony thinks they're big enough they don't need anyone. They can just put on a state of play and get millions of views, right? Like, they can just put on the PS5 reveal and get tens of millions of views. So if I don't think you'll see Sony like outright be like, oh, we really need to be part of Summer Game Fest. Just like they don't feel like they need to be part of E3. They feel like they can do whatever they want. You know, everyone's response to that's going to be different. Personally, I would love to see Sony at E3, but I don't think you'll ever see that again. So, you know, I think you are going to see people in that time frame, right? I think you're going to see Sony probably in June, but I don't think it's going to be till the end of June, like the second half of June, I would say. EA's not at E3, but of course they're going to be showing something probably in that window as well. I'm sure a lot of this is going to get lumped into the Summer Game Fest, but it's not going to be like we're exclusively part of this, right? Like, oh, you have to watch this through their media channels. It's really going to be just, you know, we're all bundled together during this time frame. I think I saw a couple of super chats drop, so let me hit that really quick. Plastic Hearts Podcast with a 5. So good to see you, Plastic Hearts. So good to see you. Thank you for being in like literally every chat and always giving super chats. Thank you, Plastic Hearts. With a 5 here saying, Benji boy, who you got with Poirier McGregor 3 this summer? Also, will John Jones even fight this year? Yes, MMA questions. I love them. Don't worry, gaming fans. I'll get through the MMA questions quick, and then I'll get right back to video games. But MMA is literally my second favorite thing. It's like video games and then MMA. Really combat sports, boxing, all of it. So Poirier McGregor 3... Man, this is really tough for me to call, okay? And it's tough because I know the second fight, Poirier basically schooled McGregor, at least in that second round. I thought McGregor won the first round, but the things that led to the finish in the second, Poirier was already setting up in the first. So while maybe he technically lost the round, he already had himself set up to win the war, right? To win the fight, if you get what I'm getting. He'd already done so much damage to that lead leg of Conor. He'd already gotten in his head about the takedowns. So McGregor did win that first round. Even the judges gave it to him. But the problem for him is Dustin already had him figured out. So even though Dustin lost the round, he knew what he needed to get that finish, which he then got in the second round. For Conor to overcome that, he's going to have to make some serious strategy changes, right? Like, he cannot fight Poirier the same way he fought in the first. But at the same time, we have seen McGregor is very good at learning from a loss, right? He did very good, for example, in the Nate Diaz rematch. Whether you think he won or lost the second fight, I think he definitely won it, but it was a close fight. But he fought much better. He paced himself much better, had significantly better cardio. So he did make a lot of adjustments. So that is a coin flip for me. You know, I could see McGregor making the necessary changes and winning, but if I'm going to bet, like Plastic Hearts, you want me to put my money on it, I say Poirier wins again and by finish again. But I could be completely wrong. And in terms of John Jones, will he fight this year? I don't know, right? He wants a lot of money. I think the UFC should pay him a good amount of money, but it seems to be a big problem. I'm going to say yes, John will fight, but not till the end of the year. I don't think you see John Jones fight until the very end of the year. That Francis Ngannou fight would be incredible, but it sounds like the contract is just not working out, right? John wants way more money than what the UFC is willing to pay him. So I think you see John, but not until probably October, November, somewhere in there. All right, Killian Butler here with the super chat. Thank you so much, Killian, with the 5. Great to see you as always. Hey, Benji, hope you're doing good. Just wanted to show some support. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Keep up the great coverage on YouTube and Twitter. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. The support has been unreal, right? Especially on Twitter. The support on Twitter has been ridiculous. All right. Oh, this is an interesting question. Vince the Magician, how much of an influence do you think experience with Hitman will have on the core gameplay of their new 007 game. Well, definitely it helps, right? Especially with like the stealthy and blending in elements. Like, man, does that make sense, right? Whenever you find out that the Hitman devs are making a James Bond game, I mean, literally, you almost couldn't ask for a better pairing, right? Now, Hitman, of course, isn't quite the same as James Bond, but boy, is there a lot of overlap there, right? You have a dude who's very good about taking out targets. He's elite trained. He's good with hand-to-hand combat. He's good with guns. I mean, literally, you have an archetype that's very similar to James Bond. So I think that you will see a lot of that Hitman influence. One thing, though, that I do want to see, that I feel no James Bond game has done yet well, is show the charm of James Bond. That is literally a core component of the character. He's very charming. He's very good. 007 game that explores that, somehow utilizes that in the mechanics with the way you can negotiate and talk with people and, you know, maybe become friendly with the enemy. Like, you just haven't seen, and I know that's a bit of a challenge to pull off, but I hope they explore that because I feel no 007 game has really delivered on that. And it's really such a core part of the character, right? Like, when you watch any James Bond movie, he ain't Rambo, right? Like, there are elements of that. There's times that James Bond's going through and just kicking ass, but like, there's also huge chunks of the movie where he's, you know, talking to people and negotiating his way through scenarios. And like, yeah, they just haven't done that. It's all just basically been straight up shooters. All right. Question here from Benji. Thank you so much, Benji. Hi, Benji. If Horizon is delayed to 2022, would Rift Apart be big enough for Sony as a holiday title? Well, here's the thing, Benji. I really don't think Horizon's going to get delayed publicly. I think it's already been delayed. So God of War is delayed, right? God of War is not coming out this year. There's just, listen, at least from everything that's being reported and rumored, including from very reliable people like Jason Schreier, that game is, God of War is not coming. So I would just go ahead and assume, if you're anyone, you're not getting God of War this year. If it happens, amazing. If it's some kind of shocking announcement that it is, sweet. But for now, just assume you're not getting God of War till 2022. For Horizon, I think it's already been delayed. They just haven't announced it. I think Horizon originally was probably targeting that like September-ish date. That was kind of my thought process. I never thought it was targeting first half of this year, but I was thinking like, you know, like a September date for Horizon and like a November date for God of War, something like that. So I'm thinking now Horizon's probably like November or even December. I think that's going to be the very end of the year, but I do still think it makes it because they even recently have still talked about Horizon as a holiday title. So I think it happens still, but God of War, no. And Rift Apart, I still think it's going to make June. I think we're going to be okay on that front. Just the main story here is going to be you're not getting God of War. It's not going to happen. Ashu is saying, will Forza 5 come this year? I think you're saying like Horizon, Forza Horizon 5. There was originally a rumor on that it was going to be, but I haven't heard anything since then, and it wasn't my rumor. I'm not saying insider sources. I'm saying this was reported online that it was possibly being targeted for this year. I don't know. I'm going to say, I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm not confident in it, if that makes sense. You know, I hope it's going to happen, but we are in April. Here's the thing. If a game's coming out this year at all, it needs to be revealed soon, right? Whether that's Forza Horizon 5 or any game. Like, you are getting close now. We're already 4 months into the year. Your marketing cycle's already down to, even if you're at the very end of the year, 8 months. So I don't think we're going to see that many games that are just not announced at all that are still going to be this year. Okay, I think most of the new announcements we're going to get are going to be for next year. So there's still probably going to be one or two, right? A few games are going to slip into this window, but I think most new game announcements will be for 2022. Here's an interesting question from Zid. With respect to Game Pass, do you think it's cheaper to sign a deal for day and date as opposed to timed exclusivity, right? So you're saying if you're Microsoft, does it cost you more to make a game a timed exclusive period to your platform, or cheaper for the Game Pass route? It's definitely going to be cheaper, at least from what I would think. Now, I don't know all the intricate details of these contracts, right? But I would think if you're Microsoft, it's got to be cheaper to do a Game Pass deal. Because here's the thing. With a Game Pass deal, if you're the publisher or you're the developer, like you still can get sales from other platforms, and also even from the Xbox platform, you can still get sales, right? So you're just getting that added benefit of being on Game Pass. Whereas if you do timed exclusivity, you're like literally giving up other platforms, right? Like you're not going to get any sales at all from PlayStation or PC or whatever, you know, however the contract works out, or Switch. So I would think it's definitely cheaper for Microsoft to get a game day one on Game Pass than completely timed exclusive. So that's probably also why you're seeing more now of these AAA third-party games starting to launch on day one. Because if you're Microsoft, it's like, ooh, I could lock in one completely timed exclusive game, or maybe I could lock in for that same price tag 2 or 3 games day one on Game Pass and get those Game Pass subscribers up. You see what I'm saying? So if you're Microsoft, it's like, ooh, that looks a little more attractive than spending a bunch of money for just one game. So I still think you'll see both, right? I still think you'll see timed exclusive games, but yeah, it's got to be cheaper for them to do day one on Game Pass. A whole bunch of people here saying congrats for 20,000 followers. Thank you, Benji. Thank you, Fernando TG. Thank you so much. It's a cool milestone. Thank you so much. Here's a question I've been wanting to get to. I'm glad someone asked this. Elias. Let me get to it. Sorry, I just lost the question. Elias Stapleton. Why is Sony so quiet? People think that Sony restructuring Japan, they're abandoning Japan, something is their studio, and something is their relations. More Japan exclusive games for PS5. So basically, Elias is asking, like, what's the deal with Sony, right? And I just wrote a tweet about this like yesterday. A lot of the PlayStation community does feel like either frustrated or like upset or just kind of impatient with Sony. Like that is a thing that I am seeing online, right? And I really think, Elias, I'm just being honest with you, I think a lot of this is going to blow over once Sony starts showing games. Basically, here's the thing. Sony isn't that different than they've typically been recently, at least in terms of like big, crazy new game reveals and announcements. Like Sony's always really, or when I say always, I should say like in the PS4 generation, right? Like that second half, they've really focused on like the big showcases, the big, you know, we're going to show some crazy stuff like at the same time, whether that's a big, huge E3 or whether it was their big, huge digital event. So they are really, at least in terms of reveals, kind of the same as they've always been. The problem, at least in terms of perception, is that Microsoft is ultra aggressive. So you're seeing new Microsoft headlines like every week. Like I think my last 3 YouTube videos, the thumbnails and like the main topic all tie into Xbox in some way. And that's typically not been the case, right? It's like every week there's a different big headline from somewhere. But Xbox has had nonstop news, whether that's about buying Bethesda, whether it's about putting AAA games on Game Pass day one, whether it's about new rumors with Kojima. You get what I'm saying? Like Microsoft just has a ton of headlines. So it's making Sony's somewhat quietness stick out more than it typically would. You kind of see what I'm saying? So, and I know that there is some stuff that's legit making people mad, like the Japan studio, like the Vita and PS3 stores closing down. So I'm not trying to like hand wave that stuff away because people do have legitimate reasons to be upset at those kinds of things. But I just more mean like the overarching perception, because I am seeing people be like, Sony's too complacent, we're back to arrogant Sony, like all of these kinds of things. I would not say that. I would say it's less of a case of like Sony being quote quote bad and more of a case of Microsoft just looking a lot better than they used to, right? Microsoft clearly learned a lot in the Xbox One generation in terms of they messed up and they messed up bad. And you're seeing them make radical changes to make the Series X, Series S, and Game Pass far more successful. So that's really what it is. You're really just seeing Sony's competition elevate over what it was last generation. But I think a lot of this will go away once you see, oh my God, look at how insane Horizon Forbidden West gameplay look. Oh my goodness, look at how insane the next God of War looks. Oh my goodness, go down the list. The next Naughty Dog project, the next Ben Studio project. They have so much quality in their first parties. A lot of this will go away. A lot of it will go away. All right, I just saw 2 super chats drop. Let me hit those. Thank you for an awesome turnout today, everyone. This has been a great stream. We've been up in the 90s, hundreds. It's been great. 5 here from Plastic Hearts Podcast. Any idea if Nintendo executing Mario last Wednesday worked for sales? Did making the Mario collection a windowed release help or hurt sales? This is a really freaking fascinating question, Plastic Hearts. So one thing we saw is that Mario 3D All-Stars sold at a very high rate, right? Very high. It did I'd have to go back and look at the exact numbers, but it was over 8 million in its first few months, right? And we haven't gotten a new update for the last quarter, right? So that's also going to obviously have a huge boost. So clearly 3D All-Stars had insane sales momentum. And in fact, the profit on that game, I'm going to hazard to guess that is one of the most profitable projects Nintendo has had on Switch. Those ports were dirt cheap, okay? We're not talking about they took Mario Galaxy and Mario 64 and made them 4K with HDR and new assets. They literally basically just took the ports and kind of put them on a Switch cartridge and released it for the system. So the actual budget for that had to be minuscule. And they sold for sure way over 10 million units by the time we get the new numbers. So was 3D All-Stars a sales success? We can say absolutely, unequivocally, without question, it was a gigantic success. But was it that limited release window that helped it sell so fast? I'm going to say yes, especially at launch. I think at launch it did play an impact because I think even though we knew the date for that ending was so much further past launch, I think a lot of people just had the idea in their heads, hey, this is a limited release. At some point it's being cut off. I want to make sure I get this game right now while it's fresh before, the cutoff date gets close. So I'm going to say yes to a degree. I still think it's weird and a bizarre move, and I'm not in favor of it. But if, flat out, I do think it probably boosted sales, especially early. Tonsi K here with a 5 super chat. I don't think it has to do with Kojima, but thoughts about the random abandoned announcement. Announcement feels strange for an unknown studio, or am I wrong? Yeah, it was a little weird, and in fact, it was so kind of random that you actually had people thinking that this was secretly Kojima's game. And to a degree, I could see why people would think something like that, right? Because A, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen Kojima just straight up announce a fake game, or hide a game, right? And including creating a fake studio. He literally did that with PT, right? He made it look like it was something else. He did not make it look like a Kojima game. He literally had a fake studio created. So I could actually see why people, when they saw this, were like, is this Kojima? It's a company most of us have never heard of. It randomly goes up on the PlayStation blog. So I actually kind of get where that came from. But yeah, it clearly has nothing to do with Kojima. The devs themselves have come out and been like, yo, no. Here's the thing, Tonsi, I think this might be a new strategy from Sony that we're going to see sprinkled out regularly, little kind of, I don't want to say weird, but random announcements like this that get highlighted. You just saw them do that with Jade Raymond's studio, right? Which has nothing to show, literally nothing but like a name, right? And some talent attached to it. They just did that a little bit ago. I think Sony's kind of thought process here is between the big, huge shows, they're going to have these smaller type reveals to highlight on the PlayStation blog. So I know it caught a lot of people off guard, but I think it might be part of a new strategy for them. They've been doing that. Really, if you look like this year, I know the PlayStation blog's been doing stuff like this for a long time, but really the last like 6 to 12 months, they've been doing a lot of these like reveal stuff on the blog. So I think it's just part of a strategy change. And keep in mind, Shuhei Yoshida now is like in charge of indies. And we all know Shu is like super passionate and works really hard. So some of this stuff's probably also related to Shu as well. Yasp. All right. Let's see. Next question. Elias Stapleton, do you think Bluepoint is working on a Metal Gear IP? I think that's what you're saying. For Sony. And do you think Silent Hill is PS exclusive? Well, people keep trying to get me to talk about Silent Hill, but I can't talk about it. I've already said I can't comment on Silent Hill. I need to either A, have more sources on Silent Hill before I'll talk about it, or B, we're just going to have to wait for it to be announced. So I'm not going to leak something on here I heard from one source. So it needs to be something I hear from multiple people before I'll even think about going into details. So Silent Hill, I'm going to just stay away from that. And in terms of Bluepoint, are they working on an IP for Sony? Demon's Souls just came out. So if they're working on something else, it's going to be very early in production, right? Bluepoint isn't typically a team that's juggling like 3 or 4 games at once, right? So if they are working on something, it's early. Would that be with Sony? I would assume yes, but keep in mind, Bluepoint is not owned by Sony. I know there was rumors that were going around at the beginning of the year that Sony acquired them and was about to announce it. From what I understand, that's never been the case, and it's still not the case. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe that changed, but I put it this way. I know at one point it definitely was not the case. So, it could be. I would assume the next Bluepoint project's with Sony because they have such a good relationship there. If I had to hazard a guess, I also think eventually Bluepoint will probably become a first-party studio. But, yeah, it's going to be a while before we see whatever's next from them. Demon's Souls just came out. I think we have a super chat. We do. Benji with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. How long have we been going? 52 minutes. We're going to still go for like another 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes more of chat. Benji, it took 9 months for the PS4 to reach 10 million. The PS5 was expected to destroy that number, but it is still possible with the chip shortage. So here's the thing. Is PS5 selling a bit slower than Sony wanted it to? I'm going to say yes to that question, but keep in mind, y'all, strictly because of component shortages. It's not one of those things that PS5 demand is lower than Sony wanted. It's just literally, as we see everywhere worldwide, there's just ridiculous sellouts, like ridiculous. The chip shortage is, without question, having an impact. I can also say, though, that through looking at charts, looking at sales, looking at info, it looks like March was a lot better for PS5 than the really bad dips we saw in like January and early February. So it does seem like Sony is like, I think the bottomed out portion's over. I think they're slowly working back up. So will they be able to hit their goals? Put it this way, demand is there to smash their goals. It's just a matter of chips. For now, I'm going to say yes, because I think Sony's going to pay a premium just to get these consoles made and get the install base rocking. So Benji, I'm going to say yes, and then to counter that, if they don't, it'll strictly be because of shortages. Like, that's it. It'll have nothing to do with demand, nothing to do with software. It will literally just be because they can't make enough PS5s. There's just not enough parts. That's the only way they miss. Big Fresh 37 with a second super chat. Thank you so much, Big Fresh, for 199 here. Is the Series S in India thing actually a big deal? Okay. Yes and no. Two-parters. So, first of all, the yes part. Yes, because keep in mind, India is a market that is dominated by Sony. In fact, I believe the estimates that are put out there is that PlayStation has a 90% market share in India. So it is literally dominated by PlayStation. So on the one hand, we know that Series S and Series X are the biggest launches ever in India for Xbox. And also we found out that in March, it was the best-selling console. It outsold the PS5. So put it this way, if you're looking at it from just Microsoft's perspective, right? Literally just them, Microsoft, that's it. You're looking from their point of view. Yeah, it is a good thing because even though India is not your number one market, any market that you're going to see growth in, that's a net positive, right? You always want to see growth. So that's good news. India is a massive population, right? Massive. It's the second biggest population in the world. So, and now, of course, the gaming market there, especially console gaming, isn't the second biggest. Second biggest population, but gaming is, nowhere comparable to like the US in terms of consoles. So, yes and no. Does it mean that all of a sudden Xbox is going to sell 50 million consoles in India? No, by no means. By no means. India is still not a huge market for consoles in general. But it is a market that I think will become bigger for consoles over time. I really do believe that. I believe India is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go through time. So getting any kind of foothold there, that's going to be good. That's going to be good news. Aaron Ho here with a 25 HK super chat. Thank you so much, Aaron. There's no question on there, but thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat. That means a lot. That means a ton. Thank you so much, Aaron. All right, I'm going to get picky and choosy on questions just because we're coming down to the last 15 to 20 minutes. So I want to make sure we squeeze in some really good ones. Danger Man 1337 said, in before Benji-Sales mentions blow up on our gaming leaks and rumors. Well, I hope not, because like I said, I don't consider myself like a high tier insider, okay? Keep that in mind, folks. I am not sitting here presenting to you that I am an insider. Make that very clear before you start running around posting that Benji's dropping the leaks. I mean, y'all, I mean, I have 20,000 Twitter followers and a ton of them are gaming industry people. So, of course, I do hear some stuff, but I don't think that I'm an insider by any means. I don't go searching for scoops. Oh, here we go. VLO Gamer or Vlog Gamer. With the crazy amount of good news and Game Pass love Xbox is dishing, how do you think Sony should try to step up? I heard many friends spending more time on their Series X than on PS5. I can actually relate to that myself. I love PlayStation, wearing a PlayStation shirt. I have been playing my Series X a lot more than my PS5, like a lot. And really the main reason for that is Game Pass. Like, Game Pass is just crazy, y'all. It's just crazy. Now, don't get me wrong. I do play my PS5. I loved Miles Morales. I loved Sackboy. I loved, a whole bunch of stuff. But as someone that does own both consoles, Series X's Game Pass library is just ridiculous, right? Like, I literally have something big and new to play. So, yeah, I mean, it is a legit thing. I'm not shocked to hear that you have friends that are spending more time on your Series X than PS5, because so am I. But what can they do? What can Sony do? Here's the thing. Like I mentioned earlier, all Sony's got to do is show games. They got to start talking games. And I know why they haven't, right? This whole pandemic, it's been like such an issue, right? They have shown Returnal, but here's the crazy thing. I was actually just talking about this with someone earlier today. Ratchet and Clank comes out, Rift Apart, in 2 months, and we haven't seen like a big blowout on that game, like a nice beefy amount of information since 7 months ago, last August. It's been over half a year since we had like a big new showcase for Ratchet. Like, Sony is pretty quiet on games. Like, so that's it. Vlog Gamer, really all they got to do. I don't think they need to come out here and be like, you know, oh, we're buying 20 studios and we have our own Game Pass. And I don't think they need to go that crazy. We just need to start seeing some of these PS5 games, right? Because here's the thing, right? One reason why PS5 feels dry, right? I see some people saying that. It's because we got that first batch of games that hit really quick, right? You had Miles, you had Demon's Souls, you had Sackboy. Now you have Returnal right around the corner. But after Returnal, we've only really seen from Sony Studios Ratchet. Yes, we saw Horizon, but we've seen zero gameplay, and we literally only saw the announcement trailer, nothing since. So almost a year now since we saw Horizon. I mean, I know there's still a few months, but you're coming up on that. Ratchet, you haven't seen in like 7 months. So if you're like looking forward to Sony first party games, most of those PS5 games already came out that you saw a bunch of. You haven't seen Ratchet in a while. You haven't seen God of War. So I think that's really the issue. Once Sony comes out and starts showing a lot of this narrative is going to go away. I'm telling you, a lot of it's going to go away. King of the Dry Bones saying, make sure to hit like the video. It helps Benji out. Absolutely. If you like doing these live chats, make sure you hit the likes. It helps the YouTube algorithm, helps people find my channel. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. We do these live chats every single week, okay? Once a week, every week, we come into the live chat and we break down the gaming news. Red Dead Series saying, what's up? It's so good to see you. Hello, Matthew Plant. Hello, everyone. There's so many people in chat. Oh, here's an interesting one. I didn't know this from Matthew Plant. I actually had no idea. He's saying, only thing I could add is that Colin mentioned quite a while ago that Sony canceled the Kojima follow-up game to Death Stranding. I did not know that. If that is true, I definitely see now more so even than why Kojima would, you know, not want to necessarily have Sony as his next publisher. So I have no idea if that's true, but if so, man, yeah, I get it. JCat saying hi. Hello, JCat. Hello, hello. Thank you for being in chat. PTK Blam here. Kojima is synonymous with PlayStation, but he's not a first-party dev, like some people seem to think he is. This is absolutely true. Prior to this Xbox news, he was reportedly going to be making a game for Stadia. Exactly. Very true, PTK Blam. And that's the thing. Like, does Kojima have a insane history with PlayStation? Yes, without a doubt. So I see why, if you are like a PlayStation fan, this comes across as like shocking. This comes across as, you know, upsetting, right? Especially because here's the thing. If Microsoft is the publisher, it's not going to PlayStation, right? If they are actually publishing the game, you'll still be able to get it on PC. Everything Microsoft publishes goes to PC as well. But this would be the first Kojima game, geez, in a long time, that didn't come to PlayStation at all. So if you are a Kojima fan, yeah, that is a shocker. But like you mentioned, PTK, he is completely independent. He has an independent studio. Reportedly, he was going to make a game with Stadia. He can go to whoever he wants, right? So all right, I'm going to scroll towards the bottom, hit some questions that haven't, for people that got in late. Danger Man, at Benji-Sales. What do you think Battlefield 6 being fully on Game Pass Ultimate day one instead of just being 10-hour deal? especially if Microsoft wants it to shift people going Xbox Series X than PS5 as a next-gen showcase. Man, here's what I'll say about that, Danger Man. There are rumblings out there that this is gonna be, that Battlefield potentially is going to be a Game Pass game. I find it hard to believe because here's the thing, Danger Man. Like I mentioned before, said on the last chat, this is if this happens, this will be the most expensive game Microsoft's ever secured day one for Game Pass, and it's not close. Okay, not close. Battlefield is going to be far more expensive than Outriders was, and far more expensive than MLB The Show was. Battlefield is a game that typically, outside of Battlefield 5, which it was a huge underperformer in sales. But if you take 5 out of the equation and you look at Battlefield 1, if you look at Battlefield 4, if you look at Battlefield 3, these are games that sell tens of millions of units. Tens, right? Massive. Millions and millions and millions of units. So put it this way. If I had to bet, I would say that Battlefield is not going to launch on Game Pass day one. It'll, of course, come there because EA Play is part of Game Pass, right? They're kind of unified together. So once Battlefield hits EA Play, it would, of course, be on Game Pass. And I wouldn't even be shocked to see it a little bit sooner than that. But day one, put it this way. If Battlefield goes day one on Game Pass, everyone needs to be aware Microsoft will be willing to spend anything because that's not cheap, okay? So if Battlefield goes there, all bets are off. Any single game, it doesn't matter about price tag, has potential to launch day one on Game Pass. So it would be crazy. It'd be crazy. It would be crazy. But it would be huge. I mean, it would be massive for both EA and Microsoft if that happened. Ooh, King of the Dry Bones. Do you think Africa will become a powerhouse for gaming sales and possibly development in the next 15 years? King of the Dry Bones, I hope, right? I'd love to see it. I love to see emerging markets. I love to see markets growing. I love to see more people getting involved in the gaming space and technology space. So, that's a little hard to predict, right? There's so many factors that have to go into that for that to happen, for them to become a powerhouse, as you put it. But I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. And Big Fresh 37 is asking if I give out my gamer tag. It's just Benji-Sales, whether you're on PlayStation or Xbox. So if you want to look at my profile, it's literally just Benji-Sales. I will say I don't really add people to my friends list just because I get a lot. Like my friend requests are like bing, 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 like all the time because I guess people just search for Benji-Sales because they know my name on Twitter and YouTube and find me. So if I accepted, I would be like full on friends lists like so fast and there'd be so many people. But if you want to check out my profile, see what I'm playing, see my achievements and trophies, none of that's hidden. Just Benji-Sales, PlayStation or Xbox. Actually, so here's one. Derchios. If there was no chip shortage, do you think that the gap between PS5 and Xbox Series console sales would increase due to the large amount of hype surrounding the PS5 console? Actually, Derchios, I'm going to say the opposite. I actually think it would be closer because I have seen evidence, and I don't want to go too into details on this, that Sony is doing a better job of improving manufacturing than Microsoft is. So to be honest with you, Derchios, I actually think it would be closer than it is right now. I think Sony is doing a better job of pumping consoles out than Microsoft is. Because here's the deal. In the major markets, the big markets, right? The US, UK, etc. Series X and PS5 are both literally sold out. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if there's all that matters in terms of who's selling the most right now is how many units you make. That's literally it. The person that you see ahead on NPD has zero to do with demand. Zero. It has to do with how many consoles you made. Now, I know for a lot of markets, Series S is much easier to find. Here in the US, it's impossible. Can't find Series S or X or PS5. So, but like I said, I feel like from evidentiary standpoint that I have seen, Sony has increased production more than Microsoft has increased production. So everything's selling out, but Sony's getting more units into stores. So I don't know that you would see the gap widen. And if anything, especially in the US, I would say no. No, it definitely would not be further. I mean, y'all, here's the thing. Some people might not realize this. Microsoft has a legitimate shot of outselling Sony in the US this generation. Like, I'm just telling you that right now. There's a chance. So, globally, no. Globally, PlayStation 5 is definitely going to outsell Xbox Series X and S. And it might even happen in the US. I'm not going to say it's not. PS5 is doing amazing in the US. But, Microsoft has good momentum right now. Good momentum. Super chat just dropped from Benji with a 5. If the Kojima game coming to Xbox is legit, so shall we also expect something with the Switch? There was a Switch behind Phil alongside the statue. So the rumor here, Benji, is right after that aired, apparently Phil was on some kind of like Nintendo documentary. So maybe that's what he was hinting at. I don't know. I have reasons to believe that the stuff on his desk is definitely legit teases, right? Phil, I think, is having fun with that, and I definitely think if the Kojima thing ends up real, clearly there was a reason why there was a Luden statue right next to the Xbox logo. That always looked a little weird, right? I mean, it got discussion going immediately, like, it's awfully interesting placement. Luden, Xbox statue. Like, literally right, brightly lit in the foreground. So I don't know, though, that you would expect a Microsoft game going to Switch or Game Pass going to Switch. My guess is it was probably a hint or a tease at that documentary he was in. Plastic Hearts Podcast. How long we all gonna pretend God of War 2 comes out this year? Here's the thing. Sony's going to pretend God of War is this year until they have a new date. That's the thing. I don't think Sony wants to come out and delay God of War and make people upset with no new time frame. So Sony's going to keep pretending that God of War is this year, which they're not really. Like, it's funny. If you look at Sony, they're not talking about God of War. They're literally pretending God of War doesn't exist. No statements. Any interviews you see with Jim Ryan where he even has mentioned Horizon and stuff before, they literally are pretending God of War, it just doesn't exist right now. Because I think they know it's delayed and they don't want to put that out there without a new date. So my hunch is once they feel confident that this game's going to hit, this is a random guess. Let's say they think, okay, God of War, it's going to be out April 2022. That's when you'll see it delayed. Once they can delay it and give you a date with gameplay or a cinematic trailer footage, that's when it'll get delayed. But I don't think before that. I don't think you'll see Sony just randomly in a blog post be like, oh, God of War's no longer this year. Like, they're going to want to soften the blow a bit. Luel, I want to make sure I'm getting your name right. Lol Asamanu. I probably did a terrible job on that. I'm so sorry. Do you think Xbox will show new IP at E3? Yes. Yep. I think you're going to see new IP at E3. Yep. I think you're going to see new IP probably from... Let me think here. Probably from... oh, God. What is their names? Developers of We Happy Few. Anyways, I think you're going to see their new IP there. Yeah. There's a C in it, but I literally cannot think of their names right now. Compulsion Games. You'll probably see Compulsion Games new IP at E3. Yep, that would be my guess. Ashu saying, Benji, it's me from India. We just want those RTX 3070s. Tell Uncle Jensen to stock the GPU. I wish. I know there's shortages on everything. I know. Okay, let me just pull out like one or two more questions. And I gotta go. I gotta go to work. 2 more questions. I'm gonna get 2 more. I'm gonna get this one from Aaron Ho because this might have been part of his super chat that got cut off. Because Aaron Ho had that super chat earlier that I didn't see a question on. So I want to make sure I get this, and then I'm going to pull out one more. Hi, Benji. If Sony repackages PS Now to be more Game Pass-like service, like 100% download, not streaming, first-party game release on day one, which will get more subscribers at the end? Oh, Aaron, this is tough, okay? This is tough because don't get me wrong, Sony's first party would drive crazy subscription growth. Crazy. Just the first party alone. But what we would need to see from Sony, I think, to get PS Now to perform like Game Pass, they would also have to, besides just the first party, also have to be very aggressive about third party. So in terms of like who's going to become bigger in terms of subscriber base, Microsoft has been very aggressive about third party. They got all of EA Play as part of Game Pass Ultimate. If you're subbed to Game Pass Ultimate, you also have EA Play. So that's pretty darn huge by itself. Then now you're having third party games hitting day one on the service, like Outriders, MLB. So I think whoever was going to win, quote, quote, the subscription war there, it actually wouldn't just come down to first party, though that would be a very big factor. But it would also be who was more aggressive about locking in those big, huge third-party deals. So I would need to see that from Sony before I was confident that their own version would be bigger than Game Pass. Could be, right? I'm not going to say it's not. But I would need to see evidence of that first, that they're going to go that aggressive as well. Okay, one more good question here. Let me pull out one more. I wish I could go longer, but I have to go. I'm going to get one from JCat here. Because JCat's awesome. JCat's always modding. JCat's been a supporter since the early days. JCat's got a great question too. So JCat, at Benji-Sales, you said on Twitter that you wish we would know how much money Microsoft invested into gaming recently. When do we see these investments pay off in terms of market share and profits? So you're already seeing the payoff right now in some degree. I get what you're saying though. Profit? No. They have not made back the profit yet that they spent on every studio acquisition, buying Bethesda. That is going to take a while. In terms of market share, we are seeing it, I believe, right now. Now, listen, there is just no consoles to sell. So, but demand, put it this way. I mean, I've worked in gaming retail space literally, for over a decade. I have not seen this high of demand for an Xbox console since the 360 days. Xbox One never had this kind of demand. Literally never at any point did Xbox One, even at launch, have the kind of demand that Series X and Series S currently do. So you're already, I think, seeing an impact there in terms of people wanting to get involved with Xbox. I think the biggest factor there legitimately is Game Pass. So you are starting to see that pay off. Now, in terms of like when is it going to pay off in terms of just making tons and tons and tons of hand over fist money, my thought process has always been, if Microsoft can get to Game Pass to 40 to 50 million subs, and they're about halfway there now, right? They were at 18 million as of January, probably over 20 million now. Put it this way, I'd be a little alarmed if they weren't. That's only 2 million subscriber gain. So I would think by now they should be over 20 million. So you only need to double that. Once you hit 40 to 50 million, Microsoft is going to become one of the richest companies in the history of gaming. Microsoft's already one of the richest companies in the world, period. But 40 to 50 million subs, spending what they spend per month or yearly, however that works out, your monthly revenue is astronomical from that. So if they can get to 40 to 50 million subs, the amount of money that Xbox is going to be raking in is ridiculous, like insane. And I think they can get there. So I would say, in terms of if you're asking when's just the full-on Microsoft's cranking out profit, because right now, yeah, they probably aren't. At best, it's probably mildly profitable. I'd say 40 to 50 million subs. 40 to 50 million subscribers on Game Pass, and Microsoft's in a great position. Okay, I got to call it there, everyone. Thank you for the chat. Thank you for a great turnout today. Thank you for all of the great questions. Like the video if you like doing these chats. We're going to be right back next week with another one. Subscribe to my channel if you are not subscribed yet. Follow me on Twitter if you're only here on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for really another awesome stream. I will be back next week. Stay safe. Play some games. I will see you in the next YouTube video, or I will see you on Twitter. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.